you need to be prepared. The snow moon portal is now open, and it's hitting harder than anyone expected. The full moon is finally here, and today's snow moon didn't just rise. It burst open a spiritual portal. Awareness today matters more than ever. This snow moon is acting directly on people who can feel energy, and if you're one of them, you need to understand how this portal is affecting you. You're stepping into a moment that only a small percentage of people will even notice. Under this snow moon, the most powerful thing you can do is intentional withdrawal. Not disappearing, not isolating, but reducing the noise around you until your energy finally breathes again. This full moon doesn't reward those who push outward. It empowers the ones who pull inward with purpose. Because stillness today isn't a pause, it's participation. You're not stepping away from life, you're stepping into the exact frequency this moon is amplifying. Not every light is guidance, some are traps for the restless. This snow moon brings a strange impulse, the urge to act, to fix something, to move toward whatever feels bright or promising. But under this full moon, not every glow is meant to be followed. Some lights show up precisely because you're vulnerable to distraction right now. They flare up the moment your energy softens, hoping you'll confuse urgency with purpose. This is where today's portal becomes a test. There are signals that are meant for you, and signals that only mimic meaning. And the difference isn't in how loud they shine, it's in how your body responds to them. If something demands instant action, if it pushes you to run before you think, that's not intuition, that's interference. The snow moon exposes these false callings by amplifying them, not to confuse you, but to help you finally recognize what doesn't belong to your path. This is a moment of discernment, not reaction. Let the flashes pass. Let the noise burn out. Because the truth is simple. What is meant for you never rushes you. It waits with patience, not pressure. When you stop chasing everything that sparkles, you make space for the one thing that actually matters to reveal itself. And for many people, this is the first time in months that the real path will finally become visible, but only after they stop running toward every light that appears. Sometimes awakening isn't a breakthrough. It's exhaustion finally refusing to lie anymore. There's a plot twist happening under this full moon, and hardly anyone is talking about it. People aren't awakening because they pushed harder, went deeper, or did more spiritual work. They're awakening because they're finally too tired to keep pretending they're fine. It's the sleepwalker effect. A sleepwalker doesn't stop because they gain awareness. They stop because something interrupts the momentum. And this snow moon is that interruption. For years, many people have been moving through life on unconscious autopilot, doing what they're supposed to do, responding how they're expected to respond, thinking thoughts that were never truly theirs. This full moon brings that momentum to a halt. Suddenly, the silence feels unfamiliar. The stillness feels uncomfortable. And that discomfort? That's the awakening. Because when the constant movement stops, the truth steps forward. You start noticing the decisions you never made, the emotions you never questioned, the paths you walked simply because they were open. And for the first time in a long time, your inner world becomes louder than the outer world. This isn't the dramatic spiritual awakening people romanticize. This is a quiet, honest one. The kind that begins when someone whispers to themselves, "I can't keep doing this." And the moment that sentence forms, everything shifts. Under this snow moon, stillness isn't passive. It's a spiritual intervention. And now, It's time for today's comment highlight of the day. Peace resonates from within, with a light that shines through. It's a sense of wonder that comes from inside and shows through with positivity. This feels less like a statement and more like a state of being, not forced optimism, not pretending everything's fine, just that quiet steadiness you carry when you're no longer at war with yourself. That kind of peace doesn't announce itself. People don't always notice it right away, but they feel it. Thank you for sharing this energy. Rest is not slowing down. Rest is steering. The snow moon brings a very specific kind of pause, and it isn't random. When this moon rises, it exposes the places where you've been stretching yourself too thin, moving too fast, or absorbing more than your energy can realistically handle. What most people don't realize is that when you ignore a spiritual pause, life doesn't let you outrun it. It simply delivers the lesson in a louder tone later. And that's why this particular full moon feels like a gentle hand on your shoulder, quietly insisting that you stop before the momentum becomes too heavy to carry. This isn't punishment. This isn't fear-based. This is protection. There are certain months where pushing through exhaustion is still manageable, but not this one. February begins with a snow moon for a reason, to soften the landing before you enter the faster-moving energies that are already building beneath the surface. Think of this moment as a cushion between you and the next wave. If you take it, you glide into the month. If you ignore it, the universe will create a slowdown for you later, and it won't feel as smooth. The energy of this full moon is trying to prevent burnout before it begins. It's offering a reset while things are still fixable, before small cracks turn into fractures. And here's the truth most people don't want to admit. If you don't schedule the pause, life will schedule it for you. That's why the universe is so insistent right now. Rest isn't a delay, it's alignment. It's you stepping out of unnecessary friction so your path can straighten itself out. What's happening right now is a course correction. Not dramatic, not disruptive, just a soft realignment that saves you from a much harder landing later in the month. People often confuse rest with stagnation, but in moments like this, rest is movement. It's the kind of movement that keeps you from drifting in the wrong direction without realizing it. The snow moon is giving you a moment to breathe, so February doesn't have to teach the lesson with pressure. This is your chance to feel lighter, clearer, and prepared for what's coming. And once you understand why this rest is necessary, you'll also understand the importance of watching your energy in the next 48 hours, because that's where the real test begins. Silence isn't empty. Silence is calibration. Over the next 2 days, something subtle but important begins to unfold. Many people will feel a rise in irritability, impatience, or an almost compulsive urge to just do something, anything, just to feel productive. But you need to understand that this isn't intuition and it isn't urgency. It's resistance to stillness. When the energy slows down, the mind panics a little, trying to fill the quiet with tasks, conversations, decisions, or distractions. This is exactly what today's full moon is trying to interrupt. These urges don't come from clarity. They come from discomfort with stillness. When you've been moving at a fast pace for a long time, silence feels unnatural. Your nervous system wants to create movement just to avoid feeling the moment. But here's the truth. Not every impulse is a calling. Sometimes it's just your mind rebelling against peace. That's why the next 48 hours matter so much. You will feel pulled toward habits that keep you stimulated. Scrolling, talking, planning, fixing, consuming. But every one of those impulses works against what this snow moon is trying to create within you. The energy right now rewards those who can stay present without rushing to escape the silence. Because in this silence, something is being restored. A sense of clarity, direction, and internal rhythm that has been drowned out by constant noise. Avoid filling your space with meaningless activity. Avoid explaining yourself just to ease tension. Avoid forcing decisions that don't need to be made today. What feels like nothing happening is actually the universe working on your behalf. This is where your energy realigns behind the scenes, without effort, without struggle, without force. The next 48 hours aren't about productivity. They're about preservation. They're about letting stillness finish what the full moon has already started. And once you understand the purpose of this quiet period, the next stage of this snow moon energy becomes unmistakably clear. Right now, the world is louder than it has ever been. Everyone is rushing, reacting, responding, proving, performing. And most people don't even realize how deeply they've been dragged into the chaos. There's this constant pressure to stay alert, to keep up, to be available, to produce something at all times. And energetically, that creates a kind of static around people, a cloud of noise that never stops buzzing. You feel it in conversations, in expectations, in the way the world demands immediate responses to things that shouldn't even matter. The snow moon exposes this noise not by adding more to it, but by showing you just how much of it you've been absorbing without question. Rest, real rest, is rare now. It's not simply closing your eyes or taking a break. It's refusing to engage with the urgency that has nothing to do with your path. It's choosing stillness when everything around you is trying to pull you into reaction mode. And that's why resting now is not laziness. It's rebellion. It's you stepping out of the system of constant stimulation and saying, my energy is not up for negotiation. In moments like this, stillness becomes a declaration of sovereignty. This full moon specifically rewards the people who refuse to get baited by emotional spikes, external demands, or sudden impulses. The world wants you to believe that speed equals progress. But spiritually, the opposite is true today. The people who move slowly will see clearly. The people who pause will understand more. And the people who rest will gain access to opportunities that others are too distracted to recognize. There's something revolutionary about staying silent while everything tries to overwhelm you. There is strength in being the one who does not bite the hook of urgency. And the energy of this moon amplifies that strength in a way that becomes very obvious as you move into the next phase of the month. Because when you rest now, you're not falling behind. You're stepping out of the chaos long enough to realign your direction. And that's why, under this moon, rest isn't escape. Rest is strategy. It's the only thing powerful enough to stop spiritual burnout before it takes over. And it's the reason February is going to hit differently for the people who understand what this pause actually means. February has a strange rhythm this year. Instead of beginning with a burst of energy, it opens with a slowdown. Not because something is wrong, but because something important is preparing to move. This snow full moon marks the integration point, the place where all the energetic shifts from the last few weeks finally settle into your system. And just like the body strengthens during rest, your spirit strengthens during this pause. People forget that momentum is built in waves. You can't sustain high energy without a drop. Just like muscles only grow during recovery, your spiritual energy solidifies during stillness. The insights you've been collecting, the lessons you've been absorbing, the subtle changes you've been undergoing, they haven't had space to anchor. This is that space. The pause is where it all becomes real. This rest phase is not a detour from progress, it is the preparation for it. When you honor it, you create inner coherence. Your mind, your emotions, and your intuition begin moving in the same direction again. Decisions become clearer, your energy becomes more efficient. Actions become sharper instead of scattered. And when February's momentum rises, because it will, you won't be dragged by it. You'll be carried by it. The people who fight the pause will feel overwhelmed later, but the ones who embrace it will move into the month with a sense of timing that feels almost supernatural, like the path suddenly rearranges itself to match their pace. That's the power of honoring the rest. It sets the foundation for everything that comes next. And that's why under this snow moon, the quiet now becomes the strength later. February doesn't begin with force, it begins with alignment. And for those willing to respect this moment, the month ahead won't just feel lighter, it will feel guided. The snow moon doesn't want your perfection, it wants your honesty. There's a huge misconception in the spiritual community that every full moon should be about radiating positivity, staying high vibration, and forcing yourself into a state of inspiration. But this snow moon exposes how unrealistic and draining that expectation actually is. Today isn't asking you to pretend you're overflowing with clarity or confidence. It's asking you to be present with whatever is truly happening inside you, even if it's quiet, even if it's flat, even if it's not what you'd normally label as high vibe. One of the biggest traps people fall into is bypassing their real emotional state because they think spirituality requires constant light. But trying to fake elevation during a full moon actually blocks the exact experience you're supposed to have. This moon is not a performance stage, it's a mirror, and mirrors don't lie. When you force yourself to be more positive than you actually feel, you disconnect from the inner voice this portal is trying to highlight. The truth is, your emotional landscape today, whatever it looks like, is part of the integration. Even if you feel empty, quiet, neutral, or strangely blank, that stillness is not a failure. It's a sign that your system is recalibrating. And pretending to be more spiritually aligned than you are only takes you further away from the work this moon is doing within you. The snow moon honors authenticity above everything else because authenticity is what opens the inner door you've been walking around for months without noticing. There is nothing wrong with not feeling intensely spiritual today. There's nothing wrong with not feeling euphoric or motivated or deeply enlightened. In fact, the people who feel the most calm, the most grounded, or even the most unsure are usually the ones who are moving through this portal exactly as intended. Because you don't evolve by feeling more, you evolve by being real. You don't need to reach for a higher vibration right now, you only need to acknowledge the truth of where you actually are. That's what activates the shift. That's what aligns you with the next chapter. And that's why this full moon becomes so transformative for people who stop trying to force a feeling and start letting this moment reveal something deeper to them. You won't remember the phase of the moon, but you'll remember the moment you woke up to yourself. The snow moon won't stay in the sky for long. The glow fades, the intensity thins, and the portal that feels so present right now will quietly dissolve back into the ordinary rhythm of life. But what it stirs inside you, that's the part that doesn't fade. That's the part that stays. Full moons don't just light up the world around you, they illuminate the inner corridors you've ignored, postponed, or simply never had the space to explore. And once those corridors are visible, once that inner door cracks open, something in you refuses to go back to sleep. This is the deeper gift of this portal. It shifts something fundamental in how you move through your life. Even after the moonlight is gone, you'll notice you're no longer pulled by the same distractions. You won't feel as tempted to chase things just because they sparkle. Your energy becomes more selective, more honest, more precise. You begin to sense the difference between what feels familiar and what is actually aligned. And that clarity comes directly from this rest phase, from the moment you allowed yourself to stop long enough for your truth to rise to the surface. Most people think transformation requires dramatic breakthroughs, but the snow moon works differently. It transforms you by restoring you, by slowing you down just enough for your deeper instincts to catch up, by giving you space to hear the thoughts that usually get drowned out by noise. And when the portal closes, you'll realize the shift wasn't in the sky. It was in the way you now feel your own presence. You don't have to chase enlightenment or force an awakening. If you honored the stillness tonight, you've already done the work. The rest you allowed yourself to take became a recalibration point. It softened the tension you were carrying. It sharpened your intuition. It reminded your energy what it feels like to move without resistance. And that is what makes February stronger. Not effort, not intensity, but coherence. As the days move forward, you'll catch yourself making choices that feel more natural. You'll respond from clarity instead of habit. You'll feel a quiet sense of guidance that doesn't need to announce itself dramatically. It's subtle, but unmistakable, like a compass you didn't realize you had suddenly turning back on. And that's why this moment matters so much. Because what the moon triggers is temporary, but what it awakens is permanent. The portal will close, yes, but the door inside you won't. Rest now, not because you're slowing down, but because you're stepping into a chapter that finally matches who you're becoming. And for once, you won't need to rush to meet it. If you're still watching, thank you, truly. This full moon wasn't about intensity or dramatic breakthroughs. It was about giving you a chance to come back to yourself without pressure. If even one part of this resonated, then the portal is already working in your favor. What matters now is how gently you move with what you've learned tonight. And even after the moonlight fades, the clarity it opened inside you will remain.